Have you ever noticed that certain people effortlessly attract success, while others, despite trying their hardest, remain stuck? This isn't by chance. Nor is it luck. It's the law of attraction at play, operating subtly yet precisely, like an invisible force that shapes every aspect of your reality. But the secret almost no one reveals is this: positive thinking isn't enough. Believe it or not, thinking positively is just the tip of the iceberg, something far deeper, something few truly understand. Most people try to change outcomes without changing the origins. It's like trying to fix a mirror's reflection without altering the original image. And that's why, despite all their effort, learning, and good intentions, they keep attracting the same circumstances, the same roadblocks, and the same pattern of scarcity. I want to show you how to break this cycle right now. True transformation begins in the deepest layers of the mind, far beyond what your conscious awareness can grasp. You might have the most elaborate plans, the best intentions, and even work harder than anyone else, but if your subconscious is programmed for scarcity, it will sabotage you. It's almost imperceptible, yet it happens constantly. It's that inner voice that whispers, "This is too hard for me," or "Those things are only for others." This isn't logical thought. It's programming installed within you before you even realized what was happening. It influences the choices you make, the opportunities you overlook, and the limitations you unconsciously accept for your life. I discovered this the hardest way. There was a period when I worked as a firefighter in Toronto. The pay was modest, my debts were high, and I felt trapped, constantly. I thought that was my fate, that prosperity was for those with luck, education, or influential connections. The truth is, I was bound by a paradigm, a mental model that made me believe scarcity was normal, and abundance was for others. I didn't realize my mind acted like a magnet, and everything I attracted into my life directly reflected what I believed about myself. One day, everything started to change when a man gave me a book, Think and Grow Rich Star. He looked at me and said, "If you follow what's written here to the letter, your life will transform." In that instant, I didn't know what to believe. I was broke, hopeless, and directionless. But I was ready to try anything to break free from that routine. I started applying the book's teachings, even without fully understanding them. And that's when I noticed something astonishing. The change didn't start in the external world, it started within me. I began to think differently. For the first time, I started visualizing myself as prosperous, secure, victorious. At first, it sounded insane. Nothing corroborated it. But as I nurtured these visualizations with emotion and certainty, something began to shift, not externally, but within me. My thoughts became clearer, my choices bolder, and opportunities began to emerge. It was as if the universe was responding to a new directive. And it was. Because the world doesn't react to what you wish for, it responds to what you embody, and what you embody is dictated by what's programmed in your subconscious. Understand, it's easy to believe that to transform your life you need to change your job, your relationship, or your location. But all of that is a consequence, not the origin. The cause lies within your mind. Changing the exterior without changing the interior is like trying to adjust the reflection in a mirror without touching the person looking into it. And that's why so many people remain bound by the same patterns, even when they dedicate themselves, even when they claim to be trying. They are fighting an invisible force that resides within them, a set of beliefs that defines what's possible and what isn't. Think about how many times you've resolved to change. You swore to yourself you'd start fresh, that this time would be different. But then, almost without noticing, things eventually reverted to how they were. This isn't due to a lack of determination, it happens because determination is conscious, and the mental model is subconscious. It's like trying to move a mountain by pushing it with your fingers. Until your perception of yourself changes, nothing else will change. I remember the first time I realized the power that resided within me. I was sitting at my table, surrounded by statements and debts, and I decided to visualize a new reality. I closed my eyes and saw myself leading a prosperous company, helping people, and living in abundance. In that instant, something ignited within me. I understood that I could create anything I wanted if I could clearly see it in my mind. I didn't know how it would happen, but I chose to believe. And it was that choice that started to turn the gears I didn't even know existed. Many believe that success comes from effort, but effort is merely a result of conviction. When you deeply believe in something, your behavior automatically aligns. You act differently, speak differently, choose different paths. The entire universe responds to this. But when you hesitate, when deep down you believe you're not capable, the universe also responds only with opposition, obstacles, and deprivation. Most people don't understand that the subconscious mind has no sense of humor. It doesn't distinguish truth from imagination. It simply accepts what you repeat with emotion. And that's why, if you keep telling yourself, "It's not possible, I'm incapable, it's complicated," it turns that into your reality. The subconscious is like fertile soil, it doesn't question what you sow. If you sow scarcity, you reap limitations. If you sow abundance, you reap opportunities. When I started reprogramming my mind, things that seemed impossible began to materialize. I founded a cleaning company with no prior business knowledge. In 1 year, it generated over $100,000 for me. But the most remarkable thing wasn't the money. It was the realization that I held power over my reality. I, the same person who once thought I'd never prosper, was proving to myself that the mind creates everything. You can do the same. All you need is to recognize that what restricts you isn't the world, but the mental model you hold. From the moment you choose to alter your self-image, the universe begins to rearrange itself to match this new version. And the most powerful thing of all is that it doesn't depend on luck, connections, or circumstances. It depends only on one choice, the choice to reprogram yourself. Because true wealth doesn't start in your pocket, it starts in your mind. Your life is shaped by your paradigm, and most people don't even know what that means. A paradigm is like an invisible operating system in your mind. It's formed by beliefs, habits, memories, and emotions repeated so many times they've become automatic. This set of mental programs defines what you believe is possible, how much money you earn, how you relate to others, how you react to challenges, and even how you see yourself in life. And the most intriguing part is that you didn't consciously choose most of this. These ideas were assimilated since childhood, coming from family, school, society, experiences, and today they control more than 95% of everything you do, feel, and think. Think about how many times you've committed to changing. You promised you'd stop procrastinating, you'd save money, you'd eat better, you'd take care of yourself. And for a while, you actually succeeded. But then, almost without noticing, you reverted to old patterns. It's as if something more powerful than your will pulled you back. And that's exactly what happens. Your mental model acts like an invisible attractor, always pulling you back to the vibrational field you're accustomed to. It doesn't care what you want, it's only committed to preserving what's familiar to it. Have you ever noticed how certain people grow up in families where everyone believes money is hard, and spend their lives repeating their parents' financial trajectory? This isn't chance. It's a mental inheritance. The model is transmitted like an emotional genetic code, and until you identify and reprogram it, it will continue to generate the same results. That's what I realized when studying the power of the mind. I understood that my life wasn't a reflection of my capability, but of my programming. I was governed by beliefs that told me I wasn't good enough, that success was for the few, that humble people should settle for the bare minimum. And the most dangerous part is that I didn't even know I thought that way. These ideas operate subtly. They define the type of individual you attract, the occupations you accept, the boundaries you impose on yourself. Perception even shapes what you envision as an opportunity. Two individuals can face the same situation and notice completely different elements. One visualizes an obstacle, the other discerns an opportunity. The difference doesn't lie in the situation, but in the mental program. A scarcity mindset sees adversities. An abundance mindset perceives possibilities. I remember when I started noticing how trapped I was by my own thought patterns. I used to verbalize the desire to accumulate more wealth, but internally, every time I thought about it, a silent voice murmured, "You don't have enough qualifications. You didn't finish your studies. Who are you to achieve that?" And as long as I nourished that voice, nothing changed. The universe responded to what I genuinely believed, not to what I expressed wanting. That's because the law of attraction doesn't react to your words, it reacts to your vibration. And vibration originates from your mental pattern. Understand, it matters little how much you dedicate yourself, how much you toil, how much you plead, or how much you plan. If your mental model is one of restriction, everything you accomplish will be filtered through that programming. It's like trying to watch the sunrise through a smudged window. The light is there, but the grime distorts the view. And the grime here refers to your unconscious beliefs. This is why so many people experience the same cycle. They start a project with enthusiasm, feel inspired, but quickly their motivation wanes, doubt creeps back in, fear takes over, and the old pattern reasserts its command. You might even think, but if I know I hold a negative belief, why can't I just change it? The answer is simple yet profound. The paradigm is emotional, not rational. It's implanted in your nervous system, etched into every cell, and responds to patterns of sensation, not to logical arguments. That's why you can be fully aware of what you need to do, and yet still not do it. Your conscious mind understands, but your subconscious disagrees. And it is the subconscious that holds the power. When I grasped this, everything transformed. I realized I wasn't a failure, nor someone devoid of luck. I was simply a person programmed to live within a specific range of outcomes. And the good news is that any program can be replaced. But first and foremost, it's crucial to recognize what's operating within you. Ask yourself, what do I truly believe about finances, affection, success, and worthiness? The answers might be painful, but they represent the first step towards freedom. I've witnessed brilliant individuals, with extraordinary talents, trapped by mental models that declared, you will never achieve it. They didn't fail due to a lack of aptitude, but rather a lack of conviction. And I've also observed unassuming people, without academic backgrounds, completely transform their lives simply because they chose to change their mental programming. The difference lies in who takes control of their own system. As long as you don't change the program changes you. The paradigm operates like an autopilot. You might even hold the controls for a while, but if you don't reconfigure the system, sooner or later it will steer you back to your initial course. And that's why many people feel like they are always returning to square one. The solution lies in re-educating the subconscious, through repetition, emotion, and visualization. It's necessary to forge new mental images and sustain them with feeling, until they become intrinsic. When I decided to break free from my old mental model, everything began to shift. Not instantly, but progressively. Opportunities started to appear, the right people crossed my path, and my self-confidence grew with each step. I was no longer fighting the current, I was flowing with it. And that's what happens when a new paradigm takes hold. Effort ceases to be a struggle and instead becomes an expansion. You don't have to be a hostage to what you've learned, nor a prisoner of what you've experienced. Your mental model can be rewritten, and when that happens, everything changes: your income, your relationships, your health, your energy. The world around you begins to mirror the new version of yourself. Life isn't about trying to be someone different, it's about remembering who you truly are before the paradigm asserted otherwise. Because the greatest power that exists is the ability to free yourself from what you were once taught to believe was impossible. Think about how many times you received an unexpected sum of money and, without understanding why, it quickly vanished. Perhaps it was a bonus at work, an extra payment, a gift, or even a raise. Initially, you felt excited, believing that now everything would be different. But, in a short time, your balance returned to the same level, or even lower. This happens to millions of individuals worldwide, and it's neither chance nor poor management. It's the financial model silently at work. The subconscious mind, programmed for scarcity, simply doesn't recognize abundance as natural. And anything it doesn't recognize, it repels. Money is a form of energy in motion. It flows to where it's well received and stays where there's vibrational harmony. If, deep inside, you still hold the belief that money is hard to come by, money is dangerous, or people with money change for the worse, your subconscious will devise ways to push it away from you. Sometimes, this manifests through impulsive spending, poor decisions, or even opportunities you don't even notice. Have you ever observed how some people seem to attract situations where they need to spend everything they have? The car breaks down, the refrigerator stops working, an emergency arises. It's not mere coincidence. It's the subconscious re-establishing balance to the financial level it considers safe. I experienced this firsthand. When I started earning more capital with my first venture, my cleaning company, I felt something I had never felt before: discomfort. Yes, discomfort. It was as if that amount didn't belong to me, as if I didn't have the right to possess it. And, without realizing it, I began doing everything to get rid of it. I spent money on superfluous items, helped people who didn't even ask for assistance, donated more than I could afford, and in the end, I was back to square one, with nothing. I didn't understand at the time, but it was my subconscious trying to bring me back to what it considered normal. The problem wasn't the money itself, but the image I had of myself. Money only stays where there's a mental structure compatible with it. It's like trying to pour 1,000 milliliters of water into a container that holds only 200 milliliters, the excess overflows. Similarly, if your mind is prepared for survival, but not for prosperity, the surplus will always escape somehow. And that's why most lottery winners return to bankruptcy in less than 5 years. They received a reality that their subconscious wasn't ready to sustain. Internally, they persisted with the same scarcity mindset, the same fear of loss, the same conviction that they didn't deserve so much. And the universe simply adjusted the external scenario to match the internal pattern. The subconscious mind is like a financial thermostat. Just as an air conditioning system automatically adjusts the room's temperature, the subconscious adjusts your financial reality to the level it deems comfortable. If you exceed that limit, you unconsciously create circumstances to return to the starting point. The same happens in the opposite direction. If you're earning less than you believe you deserve, you find ways to increase your income until you return to the mental threshold where you feel secure. The secret lies in raising this equilibrium point, and that only happens when you change your perception of money and your own self-worth. Consider the beliefs you've carried since childhood. How many times have you heard expressions like, "Money doesn't buy happiness," "Money is dirty," "Wealthy individuals are greedy"? Each of these notions, replicated thousands of times, becomes a command in your subconscious. And it obeys without question. You might state that you want to prosper, but if deep down you believe that wealth pushes people away, you will sabotage every chance for growth to preserve the affection and acceptance of others. That's why so many people unconsciously associate opulence with isolation, guilt, or shame. They desire money, but they vibrate with repulsion. And the universe, obedient, responds to the vibration, not the words. Abundance isn't merely a matter of volume, it's a matter of frequency. Money is neutral, it simply magnifies what already exists within you. If there's fear, it amplifies fear. If there's confidence, it amplifies confidence. Therefore, before seeking to acquire more, you must learn to feel at ease with what you already possess. True prosperity begins when you stop fearing abundance and start accepting it as an inherent part of your existence. Neuroscience confirms that the human brain establishes familiarity based on repetition. If you grew up in an environment of scarcity, your nervous system associates discomfort with plenty and security with deprivation. Perhaps this clarifies the reason for the distress many experience when achieving success, because this condition feels alien to them. For this reason, re-educating the mind demands persistence and emotion. It's vital to train your brain to feel comfortable with affluence, creating new connections that link finances to autonomy, altruism, and satisfaction, instead of to guilt or fear. First, observe your reaction when you receive money. Do you become restless, experience remorse, or immediately calculate what will be left? This reveals the vibration you're operating on. From now on, adopt a new behavior. When capital arrives, even if it's a small amount, show genuine gratitude. Give thanks as if it were complete abundance. Use it with discernment, without fear, without haste. The more natural it feels for you to receive and retain money, the more the universe will attract events that validate this conviction. I discovered that genuine opulence isn't just about accumulating wealth, but about becoming the individual who knows how to manage it, vibrating in harmony. Money is merely a reflection of your inner self. When you change your self-perception, the dynamics of capital around you transform as well. It ceases to be a source of tension and becomes a partner, an incessant flow of vitality that enters and leaves with stability. Financial value doesn't change people, it merely exposes their inner essence. Therefore, if you desire a prosperous existence, don't chase after capital, but rather clarity. Transform your mind into a sanctuary for abundance to reside. When your subconscious aligns with prosperity, it ceases to be a pursuit and becomes something you effortlessly attract. Oprah Winfrey stands as one of the most impactful examples of how one's mindset holds the power to completely transform a life. She was born into extreme poverty in a modest part of Mississippi, facing experiences that would emotionally shatter anyone. She was dismissed, endured mistreatment, was humiliated, and for a long time heard that she would never have an opportunity. All the evidence pointed to her failure. Yet, deep within her resided something no amount of pain could extinguish, a gentle whisper that repeated, day after day, "You were born for something grand." This quiet conviction, nurtured even amidst chaos, was the turning point that changed everything. Many observe stories like Oprah's and attribute them to luck, fate, or innate talent. However, none of that applied here. It was clarity. She assimilated, perhaps without naming it, the fundamental principle of the law of attraction. You don't attract what you wish for, but rather what you embody. Even when everything around her suggested the opposite, Oprah maintained a distinct mental vision. She didn't see poverty, but purpose. She didn't perceive obstacles, but alternatives. While the world belittled her, she reaffirmed herself every single day. And that is the crucial distinction. The cosmos does not react to others' judgments of you, it responds to the energy you radiate about yourself. I often remind myself that individuals don't achieve greatness because they are privileged by the world. They rise by rejecting the limiting perceptions that their environment imposes on them. Oprah chose not to be a reflection of her circumstances, but rather their architect. She started exactly where she was, with what she possessed, and kept her clear goal in mind. The goal to motivate, to communicate, to change lives. And this internal representation became so potent that it began to attract opportunities, people, guides, provisions, everything she needed to manifest what already existed within her. Because the mechanism is this, the external universe always aligns with the internal universe. This account evokes the inherent strength within each of us when we choose to cultivate perspective rather than hesitation. When I began my own journey, I too possessed nothing beyond a concept. I was working as a firefighter, without a college degree, without contacts, and with many financial obligations. Nevertheless, deep down, a persistent feeling told me that I could achieve more. I didn't know how, but I refused to accept my current situation as my final destination. And it was this intuition, this internal projection of opulence and purpose, that led me to transformation. What Oprah accomplished, and what any human being can achieve, was to employ the power of imagination to generate a distinct existential vibration. You might be wherever you are right now, facing debts, stuck in a detestable job, in a relationship that restricts you, or simply exhausted from trying, but none of that predetermines your future. What determines it is the vision you keep vivid in your mind. And what most people don't understand is that the cosmos doesn't react to your current situation, but rather to the emotional frequency you sustain. If you choose, deliberately, to foster an image of triumph, progress, and abundance, even without tangible proof, life rearranges itself to harmonize with that new energy. Oprah's metamorphosis didn't happen overnight. There were rejections, setbacks, tears, and, at times, isolation. However, what propelled the process was the choice to keep believing even without certainties. This distinguishes those who achieve remarkable feats from those who abandon the journey. The majority of humanity only believes what they can see. But those who grasp the principle of attraction know the inverse. You must visualize from within for the external to reveal itself. What you perceive with conviction shapes your reality. There's a captivating aspect to her journey, something that echoes a cosmic law. Oprah didn't change the world to become prosperous, she transformed internally, and the environment responded. As you change within, everything around you shifts. People perceive you differently, opportunities emerge, pathways clear. It isn't chance, but vibrational alignment. And that same capacity resides within you at this very moment. Consider what would happen if, from this moment on, you stopped focusing on scarcity and started concentrating on what you yearn to experience. Think about what if, instead of asking, "Why isn't it working for me?" you began to question, "How can I align with my desires?" This mere shift in focus can completely transform your existence. It's what Oprah did. It's what I did. And it's what thousands of individuals practice daily, often unconsciously applying the law of attraction spontaneously. Contemporary scientific research, in fact, endorses this hypothesis. The human brain does not distinguish the tangible from the vividly imagined. When you conceive something with strong feeling, you stimulate the identical brain regions activated during concrete experience. This forms novel neural pathways, new perspectives, and, gradually, renewed behaviors. This is how metamorphosis takes place, from the inside out. The moment Oprah saw herself as someone of great impact, even when devoid of any actual power, she was generating new brain connections, renewed feelings, and a distinct frequency. The cosmos reacted by presenting scenarios that aligned with such a projection. This is not mystic dogma, it is precise science. Everything oscillates, and it does so at defined levels. You attract what is in harmony with your emotional field. So, examine your inner self. What perception have you been nurturing about yourself? Do you see yourself as limited or competent? Hesitant or assertive? This self-image is the map of your future. And, just like Oprah, you can change it at this very instant. The key is to persist in the new perspective, even if the external world doesn't validate it. For when your inner universe changes, it is only a matter of time until the exterior follows the same path. The human intellect is a remarkable mechanism, but also a selective one. It doesn't assimilate the totality of events around it, preferring to choose what it wishes to notice. And therein lies the mystery. Inside your brain, there is a structure called the reticular activating system. It functions as a filter that separates the pertinent from the accessory, based exclusively on what you believe, focus on, and feel with intensity. This implies that the reality you perceive is merely a mirror of what your own mind has deemed relevant. If, intrinsically, you believe that obtaining funds is complicated, that opportunities are scarce, or that life is unfair, your brain literally cancels out the possibilities for everything to change. It does not act this way to punish you, but to protect you. The organ was designed to validate your convictions, not to refute them. It seeks congruence between what you uphold and what you observe. Therefore, if you verbalize every day, "There's no job for me, no one values me, nothing in my life progresses," your reticular activating system adapts and begins to display only scenarios that confirm such notions. You may be immersed in propitious occasions, but the cognitive barrier makes you ignore them, as if they were non-existent. Recall how many times you acquired a new vehicle, or desired a particular model, and suddenly started noticing the same car everywhere. They were always present, however, it is only now that your mind begins to identify them. This same dynamic applies to finances, interpersonal connections, and success. By redirecting your attention, you also change what you distinguish. It is an elementary, yet impactful concept: what you believe in, you notice. What you notice, you experience. And what you experience shapes your existence. A large portion of humanity conducts life as if possessing a filtering mechanism fixed on scarcity. They discern only obstacles, debts, adversities. And the greater the concentration on these aspects, the more the brain apparatus strives to discover evidence that corroborates their convictions. A repetitive and damaging pattern forms: concentration originates vision, vision strengthens conviction, and conviction generates more of the same type of existence. It is for this reason that transforming one's life begins with altering the point of observation. It is fundamental that you start directing your attention to what you aspire to, instead of what you fear. I recall the period when I began investigating this precept. At that stage, I was immersed in debt. Financial resources were scarce even for fundamental needs, and I dedicated my days to apprehension, seeking solutions to free myself from that condition. Everything my eyes saw around me indicated lack. Each expense notification that arose seemed like a warning that my journey was not progressing satisfactorily. Until I realized that the obstacle did not reside in the insufficiency of capital, but rather in the fixation on deprivation. I determined to alter my point of observation. I began to search, daily, for signs of abundance, however minor they might be. An unexpected payment, a new client, a concept that seemed promising. And then, something astounding manifested. The more my attention turned to abundance, the more it revealed itself. It was as if I had replaced the lenses through which I understood the universe. This is not magic, but the science of the nervous system. The reticular activating system is nourished by emotional recurrence. In other words, the more you reflect on and experience a feeling, the more your thinking organ assimilates that such an aspect is relevant and deserves to be amplified. If you wake up daily with a feeling of apprehension, your brain apparatus will begin to prioritize everything that evokes anxiety. When you embark on your journey with an attitude of gratitude and vitality, life begins to reveal reasons for you to feel thankful and invigorated. Your external circumstances remain unchanged. What transforms is the lens through which you interpret them. Research conducted at Stanford University demonstrates that the human mind processes roughly 11 million pieces of information per second, yet we can only consciously process about 40. This means that, every second, you virtually disregard almost everything happening around you. So, what determines which information penetrates your perception? Your beliefs. Your focus. The emotional vibrational frequency you maintain. This is why individuals with a mindset of abundance discern possibilities where others only see adversity. They don't possess a superior intellect, they simply operate with different interpretive mechanisms. Think about someone you know who always seems to have good fortune. That person who invariably finds themselves in the right place at the right time. The reality is, it's not luck, it's discernment. They've trained their mind to perceive what most people overlook. Success doesn't stem from superlative effort, but from a harmonization of observation. You don't summon what you desire, you begin to identify what is already available by attuning yourself to the appropriate vibration. The secret to transforming this filtering mechanism lies in 3 straightforward steps: reiteration, sensitivity, and purpose. First, mentally rehearse the kind of existence you wish to experience, not automatically, but with genuine feeling. Next, perceive as if this condition were already a reality. The thinking organ responds only to what carries emotional weight. Lastly, act with deliberation, seeking indicators that revalidate your new conviction. Initially, the old perspective will resist. It will try to persuade you that nothing has changed. However, if you persevere, the arrangement begins to harmonize, and what once seemed impracticable starts to manifest before your very eyes. Today, I can assert with absolute certainty, the cosmos has always mirrored what I believed. In the period when I harbored beliefs of deprivation, I saw scarcity everywhere. When I began to believe in abundance, existence revealed precisely that to me. And this same rule applies to you. What you choose to observe is what you will experience. The macrocosm is not partial, the mind is. Therefore, if you desire a different life trajectory, stop trying to change the environment, change what you perceive within it. Everything you need is already present, merely waiting for your focus to grant you the ability to discern. If, up to this point, the information I am conveying resonates with your understanding, if in some way you sense that something within you is emerging, then this is the moment to take action. I want you to pause your activity for a brief period, inhale deeply, and press the like button on this video content, not merely as a symbolic gesture, but as a manifestation of dedication to your personal development. And if you haven't already completed this step, subscribe to our channel now, because what will be presented next will help you grasp the authentic power to revolutionize your existence starting from your intellect. At this moment, reflect with me. How many times have you started something brimming with vigor and encouragement, only to abandon the journey halfway? How many times have you conceived a plan, an endeavor, an aspiration, and for some reason, postponed everything? This happens because most individuals live responsively, and not with discernment. They don't recognize that every choice, every thought, and even every emotion represents messages that are emitted to the cosmos. And the cosmos, like an echo, simply replicates. For this reason, when you demonstrate uncertainty, the universe wavers with you. When you question, it returns reasons for hesitation. However, when you deliberate, with firmness, the entire scenario begins to align in your favor. I learned that the key isn't to wait for a feeling of readiness, but rather to proceed even in the absence of certainty. The vitality of initiative constitutes one of the most robust powers of the law of attraction, for it communicates to the cosmos that you place your security. By undertaking action, even when confronting fear, you are declaring, "I have conviction." And the universe invariably responds to belief in progress. It's common for human beings to think they need self-confidence to kick things off, but the dynamic is inverse. You start to build self-confidence. Clarity emerges with movement, and movement comes from resolution. I recall clearly the initial occasion when I was prompted to perform an act of complete trust. When founding my cleaning corporation, I lacked experience, had no collaborators, and barely possessed knowledge about managing a commercial activity. My sole asset was a certainty that I would be able to make it prosper. I didn't wait for the ideal conjuncture, I didn't wait to master every aspect, I simply started. And it was precisely because of the action that propitious opportunities began to manifest. Customers appeared, individuals began to assist me, and in a short space of time that modest endeavor generated me over $100,000 during the course of the first year. All of this because I chose to act, even without knowing the future developments. It is crucial that you understand that the cosmos does not reward thought, it rewards activity. Cultivating optimistic thoughts represents the starting point, but it is initiative that concretizes. You can possess the most excellent global scheme, but without an active posture, nothing changes. Fear and uncertainty function as indicators that you are transcending your usual comfort zone. And this is advantageous. It means you are expanding. The setback lies in the fact that various people interpret this inconvenience as a warning to stop, when, in reality, it is merely confirmation that you are on the correct path. And there is an aspect of great relevance regarding this. The moment you begin to move in the direction of your aspirations, even if through modest movements, the vibration transforms. It's as if the macrocosm communicates, he is now prepared, and begins to arrange the elements in order. However, while you merely ponder and wait, everything remains stagnant. For the vibration of inaction attracts more inaction. The vibration of activity generates outcomes. Therefore, if up to this point you have assimilated these conceptions, if you perceive that this explanation makes sense, I wish to present you with a challenge. Select one dimension of your existence in which you have postponed a resolution. It could be a career transition, the launch of an enterprise, the investment of resources in something innovative, or simply the alteration of a habit, and still today, on this very day, execute a tangible measure. It can consist of a phone call, a text message, a written record, any initiative that demonstrates your engagement to the cosmos. And observe the events that unfold in the coming days. The vast majority of individuals never realize that existence continually corresponds to their predominant life force. When you begin to act, synchronicities multiply, passages open up, and the right individuals start to present themselves. This is not a miracle, but rather a correlation. For the macrocosm is dynamism, and everything that is in dynamism attracts more dynamism. Your life journey begins to transform the moment you alter the application of what you apprehend. And if you have reached this point, it is because a portion of your essence already recognizes that you are prepared for such. Therefore, if you have not yet subscribed, proceed with that immediately. Press like, disseminate this vibration with the cosmos, and continue following me, for from now on, we will delve even deeper into the mechanism that truly operates the law of attraction. Jim Carrey assimilated a principle that most of humanity devotes the totality of its existence to trying to unravel. Previously to ascending as one of the greatest figures in global cinematography, he represented merely a young man with limited means, yet possessing a clear and unbreakable perspective on the identity he aspired to assume. He not only yearned for success, he cultivated it mentally, long before any material indication manifested. In 1985, he filled out for himself a check for $10 million, stipulating its validity for 5 years ahead. Subsequently, he safeguarded this financial document in his wallet and contemplated it daily, serving as a constant reminder of the reality that he was meticulously building in his consciousness. In that period, his residence was a car, he faced numerous rejections and possessed no certainty that his plan would bear fruit. However, intrinsic conviction resonated in his being, affirming, it is merely a matter of time until it concretizes. And that was exactly what transpired. 5 years later, he obtained the first major contract of his professional trajectory, valued at $10 million, for the film production, Dumb and Dumber. This result was not a mere casualty. It was a flawless demonstration of how the universe responds to the vibrational frequency of someone who truly believes. Jim Carrey didn't just write that check as a symbolic gesture, he was actively conditioning his own mind to embrace abundance as a natural state. He consistently visualized, felt, and acted in complete congruence with the future he yearned to experience. And it is precisely this alignment between thought, feeling, and action that allows the law of attraction to work. Most people live in a state of inner conflict. They voice a desire for prosperity, yet they emit a vibration of uncertainty. They dream of achieving success but perceive themselves as insignificant. The universe invariably responds to the most powerful vibration, and almost always, the most intense vibration is fear. When you long for something but feel it's hard to get or far away, what you're emitting isn't belief, it's lack. For this reason, individuals end up attracting more scenarios that confirm this feeling of absence. Jim Carrey acted differently. He didn't just conceptualize $10 million, he imagined himself receiving it, experiencing it, and expressing gratitude for it as if it were already a real occurrence. I recall when I began applying this very principle in my own life. After reading Think and Grow Rich, I started to envision a completely different version of myself. I saw myself traveling through various countries, giving speeches, helping people transform their lives, and enjoying complete abundance. At that specific moment, this mental image seemed illogical. I had no financial resources, no formal education, nor any basis to believe such a future was attainable. Nevertheless, I decided to act as if it were inevitable. I meticulously recorded goals, spoke about them with emotion and persuasion, and visualized every detail, the stage lights, the sound of applause, the profound sense of purpose. And the more I practiced this, the more tangible that reality became. What few understand is that visualization transcends a mere motivational tool. It constitutes a process of mental re-engineering. When you visualize with emotional fervor, the brain doesn't discern between what's authentic and what's merely imagined. It starts to forge new neural connections that strengthen that vision as an unquestionable truth. It's as if you're installing a new software program within the architecture of your mind. And when this new program becomes dominant, your behaviors, decisions, and perceptions automatically begin to align with it. This is what Jim Carrey did. He reiterated the future he wished to see until his subconscious accepted it as his new and predominant reality. The critical mistake most people make is giving up too soon. They visualize for a few days, then look at their surroundings and declare, "It's not working." However, the universe doesn't respond to speed, it responds to perseverance. Jim Carrey maintained that projection for a period of 5 years, even without any tangible sign of progress. This constancy is what creates vibrational alignment. It's what transforms the imperceptible into the visible. There's a particular detail that lends even greater power to this story. When Jim Carrey's father passed away, he placed the mentioned check inside the coffin as a symbol of profound gratitude and unshakable faith. He understood that everything he had achieved was the result of the unbreakable belief he chose to cultivate, even when no one else had confidence. And this is a principle we all have the capacity to apply. Regardless of the magnitude of your ideal, the foundation is the same. The mind creates first, the material realm merely reflects. I often say that the universe resembles a mirrored surface. It doesn't show you what you long to see, it reflects what you intrinsically are. If you express uncertainty, it reflects uncertainty. If you nurture conviction, it reflects possibilities. All that is necessary is to select the image you wish to see mirrored. And this image needs to be sustained with deep emotional investment, not with empty hope, but with absolute certainty. Imagine if, every single day, you visualized your goal with the same intensity with which you experience your fears. Imagine if you infused your heart with the energy of gratitude, as if what you aspire to had already materialized. This is precisely what brings about a complete transformation. For the universe doesn't react to words, it responds to vibrational frequency. Jim Carrey had no innate advantage, no external support, he had nothing but his own unshakable faith. And that was enough. Because faith isn't passively waiting for something to happen, it's the certainty that it has already materialized on another level and merely allowing it to manifest in its due time. You can replicate this right now. Choose a goal, any goal, and live as if it were already an integral part of your reality. Feel the joy, the serenity, and the gratitude of having achieved it. Each new day, nurture this emotion until it becomes organic. When that happens, you won't need to chase your dreams. They will begin to chase you. Mike Tyson is a living example of how external success lacks power when the internal environment is in disarray. He possessed innate talent, impressive physical strength, and a determination that propelled him to the pinnacle of the world. At 20 years old, he became the youngest world heavyweight boxing champion in documented history. He was admired, feared, and a man of great wealth. He earned tens of millions of dollars per fight, accumulating a fortune that exceeded hundreds of millions of dollars. Yet, still, deep down, there was a void. He never reprogrammed his mind to sustain the triumph he had achieved. He remained trapped in the same pattern of self-destruction and scarcity that had accompanied him since early childhood. And as every law of the universe operates with infallible precision, his external circumstances eventually reflected his internal state. Tyson's mind was a battlefield far fiercer than any ring he ever stepped into. He was conditioned from an early age to fight, not just for physical survival, but for emotional preservation. He grew up in an environment marked by violence, rejection, and deprivation. These experiences ingrained in his subconscious the belief that the world was a hostile domain and that he needed to attack before being attacked. Even when wealth, power, and notoriety arrived, this deeply rooted programming persisted, and the subconscious always prevails. The disintegration began from within. Exorbitant spending, troubled relationships, dependencies, and impetuous decisions began to erode the empire he had built with such effort. In a short span of time, the individual who had once amassed over $300 million publicly declared bankruptcy. This narrative is not an isolated event. It is a reflection of what happens to any individual who seeks to alter the exterior without first transforming the interior. For the human mind functions like a thermostatic device. No matter how much you raise the temperature of success, it will always adjust back to the level it is intrinsically familiar with. Tyson did not lose his vast fortune due to a lack of opportunities. He lost it because his fundamental mental pattern was not prepared to sustain that level of prosperity. And as long as the paradigm of scarcity holds sway, the universe responds with losses, crises, and self-sabotaging behaviors. I have witnessed this same pattern manifest in countless people throughout my life. Talented individuals, endowed with extraordinary abilities, who achieve something only to lose it all shortly after. The problem never lies with luck, dedicated effort, or predestined fate, it is the absence of internal harmony. Unless the mind is profoundly reprogrammed, all success will be temporary. Tyson was a phenomenal boxer, but at his core, he was fighting a battle he never won, the battle against his own thoughts. I recall a period when, even as I embarked on a process of prosperity, I lived constantly trapped by the fear of losing everything. It was as if, with each new achievement, an inner voice whispered, "This is too good to last." And that feeling, that vibration of apprehension, began to generate situations that precisely validated its premise. Clients inexplicably disappeared, opportunities stagnated, and money seemed to slip through my fingers. It was at this point that I realized the infallible nature of the universe. It merely returns what I vibrate. And at that exact moment, my vibrational emission was one of insecurity. Mike Tyson never assimilated the truth that true strength doesn't reside in musculature, but in the depths of the mind. The physical body obeys the mind's commands, and life's trajectory follows the dictates of convictions. When such convictions are intrinsically destructive, the outcome could not be otherwise. He constantly attracted scenarios that mirrored his internal chaos, and no matter how hard he tried to start over, the same pattern repeated, until he decided to turn his gaze inward. It was only when he began the quest for self-knowledge that his existence started to find a point of balance. This elucidates an undeniable truth: you don't attract what you desire, you attract what you fundamentally are. Tyson yearned for serenity, but vibrated with hostility. He sought stability, but radiated fear. And the universe, acting as an impartial reflective surface, precisely mirrored what was emanated from within it. We all carry a part of this within us, the friction between what we consciously long for and what we subconsciously believe. As long as this incongruence persists, struggle will be unavoidable. The mind is like fertile soil. If you sow fear, you will reap turmoil. If you plant self-confidence and abundance, you will harvest prosperity. Mike Tyson demonstrated that talent without clarity of mind is like a ship without a rudder. It might drift for a while, but it will inevitably lose its way. Wealth without psychological preparedness becomes a burden, because the subconscious relentlessly seeks to balance energies. And if the mind believes it is unworthy, it will find a way to lose what it has gained. True success, therefore, is never limited to the material, it is spiritual. It springs from within, from the harmony between who you are and what you believe you deserve. Money, admiration, applause, these are all natural outcomes of a psyche attuned to abundance. When you become mentally and emotionally balanced, the universe understands that you are capable of sustaining more. Mike Tyson is a living lesson that the power that propels you to the top is not the same power that keeps you there. What sustains you is self-awareness. And this realization only emerges when you decide to restructure the old beliefs that limit you. Tyson achieved everything, lost everything, and only began to find himself again when he learned that the opponent was never external, it was always internal. The true battlefield is the mind, and it is there that triumph or failure are decided long before any external confrontation even begins. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you embody. This is one of the simplest, yet most profound truths I have ever grasped. Because most people assume that the law of attraction is simply about intensely desiring something, visualizing it, and waiting for the universe to materialize the result. But the universe doesn't respond to longing, it responds to identity. It responds to the vibration you consistently hold, to the emotional frequency that governs your thoughts, and to the beliefs that shape how you perceive yourself. You can repeat 1,000 times, "I want to be prosperous," but if, deep down, you feel you're unworthy, that money is risky, or that it doesn't truly belong to you, the energy you're emanating is one of lack. And the universe always mirrors what you emanate, not simply what you say. It's like trying to tune into a classical music station while you're still on a news frequency. No matter how much you turn the dial, the content only changes when the frequency itself shifts. For a long time, I lived with exactly this internal conflict. I'd say I wanted to prosper, but deep inside, I carried feelings of guilt and restriction. When I started earning more than $5,000 a month with my cleaning company, I didn't know how to handle it. It was an unthinkable amount for someone who, just a short while before, was earning next to nothing. And without realizing it, I began to sabotage my own success. I spent money unnecessarily, donated more than I could afford, and within a few months, I found myself back at square one. The truth is, the problem was never the amount, it was my internal self-image. I still saw myself as the same man from before, constantly struggling, surviving, and just trying to get by. I had changed the outcome, but not my core essence. And this is exactly what happens to most people. They toil, strive, attend workshops, study, yet they persist in the same patterns. Because the mind doesn't operate from conscious will, it operates from your subconscious self-image. The perception you hold of yourself sets the limit of your destiny. If you perceive yourself as small or insignificant, no matter what the world tells you, you will act, decide, and feel like someone small. And this creates a cycle that only reinforces that very reality. I've witnessed this countless times. Talented individuals with extraordinary potential who simply cannot break through the barrier of their own limiting beliefs. They claim they want to rise, but the inner voice whispers, "That's too much for you, you're not ready, you're not the kind of person who achieves that." This voice, however subtle, holds more power than any external force. And as long as it prevails, nothing will truly change. The subconscious mind is incredibly literal. It doesn't decipher metaphors, it merely obeys. When you think, feel, and express that something isn't for you, it registers that as a direct instruction. From that point on, it starts adjusting all your behaviors to ensure that command is fulfilled. This is why many individuals repeat the same financial mistakes, the same relationship patterns, and the same professional outcomes. They are trapped in a script that was written long ago, perhaps in childhood, perhaps through traumatic past experiences. When I realized this, everything began to change. I decided to rewrite my script. I started affirming daily, I deserve to prosper, I am worthy of abundance, I am the architect of my reality. At first, it felt like a lie. My old mindset resisted those words, as if questioning, who do you think you are? But as time went on, something began to transform. I wasn't just saying the words, I was truly feeling them. And when the feeling shifts, the vibration changes. When the vibration changes, the universe responds. You need to understand that guilt, hesitation, and fear are vibrations just as potent as faith, confidence, and love. The key difference is that the former create resistance, while the latter promote flow. Scarcity is a frequency that constricts. Abundance is a frequency that expands. So, ask yourself, what do you truly feel when you think about wealth, love, or triumph? If you feel anxiety, doubt, or guilt, that's perfectly okay. It simply highlights the presence of an old paradigm within you, and it absolutely can be reprogrammed. Neuroscience confirms that human cognition is malleable. With every new conscious thought, reiterated with emotion, new neural pathways are formed. This means that, biologically, it's entirely possible to create a new mental identity. However, this process demands tenacity. You won't alter a pattern ingrained for years in just 1 week. It requires consistent repetition and deep emotion. You need to experience the new version of yourself before you can physically see it mirrored back to you. I began to see myself as prosperous long before money actually started to flow regularly. I adjusted how I spoke, how I walked, how I carried myself. I treated every dollar I earned as a symbol of expansion. And once my subconscious began to accept that new identity, opportunities started to open up. Financial flow, new chances, the right people, everything began to align. Not because the world around me changed, but because I altered the internal frequency that governed my reality. The most common misconception is to assume that transformation happens from the outside in. But it's always the opposite. The external merely mirrors the internal. If you aspire to live in abundance, start vibrating abundance. If you seek love, vibrate love. If you long for peace, vibrate peace. The universe doesn't grant you what you ask for, it delivers what you are emotionally capable of sustaining. I often say that the real barrier isn't a lack of resources, but rather a lack of internal permission. You will only ever hold onto what you truly believe you deserve. And when you finally grasp this, you'll realize that nothing was ever truly missing, only a new level of consciousness. Because reality has always been, and will always be, the flawless reflection of who you believe yourself to be. Have you ever noticed how the happiest people seem to effortlessly attract opportunities? It's as if the universe conspires in their favor. They smile, and everything just falls into place. They believe, and doors open. But what many don't grasp is that this isn't random. There's a scientific and spiritual explanation for it. Feelings like gratitude, joy, and love possess significantly higher vibrational frequencies than fear, apprehension, and hesitation. And the universe responds to these frequencies like a perfect mirror. The higher your vibration, the more harmony you attract. Gratitude, in particular, is one of the most potent energies that exist. It's the state of awareness that immediately aligns you with opulence. When you are grateful, even without an obvious reason, you send a clear message to the universe: I trust. I acknowledge abundance, even before I see it. And the universe responds by multiplying what you already possess. It's as if it's saying, if you value what already exists, you are ready to receive more. But when you focus on what's missing, when you constantly complain or compare yourself to others, you communicate scarcity. And scarcity only attracts more scarcity. For years, I observed people trying to change their lives through sheer effort and resistance, and I noticed that nothing worked until they shifted their emotional vibration. The difference between an individual who attracts prosperity and another who lives in constant struggle lies in how they feel, not simply in what they do. The former acts in alignment with joy and certainty, while the latter acts driven by fear and uncertainty. The outward action might appear the same, but the underlying force is entirely different. Allow me to propose an observation. How many times, upon waking, is your very first thought about what's wrong, the bills that need paying, the challenges ahead, or all your pending tasks? This simple habit of starting your day with worry or a sense of burden shapes your overall frequency. Your intellect, perceiving an emotional state of danger, triggers the self-preservation mechanism. And what truly defines self-preservation? It's a state of lack. You don't ponder progress when you're in survival mode. The focus is on protecting yourself, defending, and resisting. And as long as you maintain that vibration, the cosmos concludes that you're not yet ready to expand. True metamorphosis begins when you master the ability to change your emotional state, uninfluenced by external events. It's the moment you choose to feel appreciation, even in the absence of anything tangible. When you realize you don't need to wait for circumstances to change in order to feel good. The principle is reverse: you feel good first, and then situations transform. This is how the energetic flow manifests. Let me offer you a simple yet immensely powerful example. Once, a woman told me that for many months she had been seeking a more favorable professional position, but nothing materialized. She felt frustrated, exhausted, and unmotivated. She merely sent out resumes, prayed, and waited. Until one day, after attending one of my seminars, she decided to act differently. Instead of complaining about the lack of an opening, she began to express gratitude daily, as if she already had it. She was grateful for the new workplace, the salary, her colleagues, the environment. She felt genuine satisfaction for something that didn't yet physically exist. After 3 weeks, she was contacted about an opportunity she didn't even remember applying for. And, most remarkably, it was exactly as she had visualized it. Appreciation forms a link between your desires and your current reality. It dissolves impediments, extinguishes fear, and prompts the cosmos to readjust to align with your new frequency. It's not imperative to understand how, just to feel with purity of intention. I've applied this premise countless times in my own life. There was a phase when everything pointed to ruin, struggling ventures, pending payments, and a sense of losing control. It was at that moment I decided to practice what I preached. Each morning, upon waking, I expressed my appreciation. I was grateful for still being alive, for having health, for shelter, for having learned lessons from every obstacle. Soon, the burden began to dissipate. Clarity returned, opportunities emerged, and the energetic dynamic completely shifted. And that's what I want you to experience now. I challenge you to a simple practice, one capable of completely changing your energy. For the next 7 days, whenever you think about what's missing, immediately replace it with something you already have and give thanks. If you think, I don't have enough money, say, but I have food on my table, I have the strength to work, I have the intelligence to create more. If you think, my relationship is difficult, say, I'm grateful to have someone who teaches me to grow. This shift in focus may seem small, but it recalibrates your entire vibration. Quantum physics has already demonstrated that the energy of appreciation alters the body's electromagnetic field. When you feel gratitude, your heart emits a coherent frequency, and your brain operates in harmony with it. This consonance between mind and emotion creates an energetic signature that attracts similar experiences. For this reason, when you become grateful, the universe begins to conspire in your favor in ways you cannot predict. Life always responds to the frequency you choose to maintain. When you vibrate with worry, you attract more reasons to be anxious. When you vibrate with gratitude, you attract more reasons to be thankful. Everything you desire already exists in potential, just waiting for you to tune into the correct frequency to receive it. And appreciation is the fastest path to that connection. Starting today, make appreciation your first thought upon waking and your last before resting. Not as an empty ritual, but as a state of presence. Because when you experience genuine gratitude, even for what hasn't yet materialized, the universe interprets that possession is already yours, and he who already possesses does not need to strive. He merely attracts. The truth is, everything you need to change your reality already resides within you. The cosmos is always ready to deliver more to you, but it awaits the moment your energy aligns with what you desire. And that moment begins when you decide, when you consciously choose to vibrate with gratitude, abundance, and faith. From then on, coincidences become answers, and what once seemed impossible begins to feel natural. If this message resonated with you in any way, please share this video with someone special, someone who might need to hear exactly this today. Sometimes, a simple word is all it takes to ignite new hope in someone's life. I express my sincere gratitude for staying with me until now, and I want you to know, the best is yet to come. Stay connected, because in the next audio-visual content, we will delve even deeper into this transformative journey. I look forward to seeing you there.